You're listening to the Esoterics Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Fioraliz.
Hey, and this is Joe. Welcome back to the Esoterics Podcast.
How you doing today, Joe?
I'm good. Excellent. I like how we always ask each other that. We're always like, oh, we're good. We're good.
Happy Monday.
Mm-hmm. What if I said I was awful? What would you do?
I mean, I would want to hear about it.
Right. I don't have an awful story because I'm not really awful.
Yeah, I don't either.
That was funny. Okay, that was a weird opening, but I don't care. Hey, so this weekend I went to the pumpkin patch.
Oh, how was that?
It was so much fun, and it was the first time that I've been in a very, very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan has this epic pumpkin patch called Uncle John's. It's not really a pumpkin patch; it's like a cider mill,
Okay.
but it's a cider mill. It's got haunted hay rides and mazes and gift shops and donuts and bakeries and a winery, and so there's a lot of shit going on right at this place. And so that was similar. Here it was Bowman Farms, a little bit south of Portland. I went with my lovely friend Laura. We did a Sunday adventure. We went to this awesome Mexican brewery. I wish I could remember the name of it. I probably should have thought of that to let everybody know, but it's a Mexican brewery in Salem. And then we went to this pumpkin patch cider mill.
Mm-hmm.
I got some caramel and some donuts and some jam. And
Oh, I love jam.
I know the homemade
What
jam
kind
is
you
the
get?
best. I got not Marionberry, boysenberry.
Okay. We went to, there's an apple farm that's maybe like 40 minutes from here, and they usually do like seasonal things
Yeah.
in this. Yeah, it's just all throughout the year, right? So when it's apple season, they'll have like the whole festival or whatever. And we got some apple cider. It's apple cider jam, and it is so delicious.
Yeah.
And I just found some at Trader Joe's. So,
Oh, you did. Does it taste the same?
oh yeah, it's so good.
Apple cider jam. I would try that.
It's delicious.
I love to buy jams, homemade jams, from like roadside stands and stuff like
Yes.
that. The last one I got was I think it was like a peach marmalade.
Yeah.
And in theory it sounds really good, but it wasn't very it's just sweet jelly flavor. You know what I
was it
mean? It's
just
not
sweet?
Yeah, there's no nuance to the flavor of it. So I mean
Yeah.
it's okay on cream cheese and toast. It's good, but it's not anything where I'm like, oh my god, this stuff is so good, I'm gonna get more.
Yeah, I get that.
So fall is here. The rains have come here in the Pacific Northwest, and fall is here, and I'm excited because it took a long time for it to roll in here.
I know.
Yeah, it was like
We
7
were
years.
waiting. Yeah, we were waiting just to like get to October, and I was like, okay, please give us some fall weather. And then it was like, I remember it was like one day, and then the next week we're in 90s again, 90-degree weather. But right now it's leveled out, so it's beautiful. Yeah, super happy.
So what changes for you in fall weather that you get to do that you don't get to do when it's like summer weather?
My rain boots get their one day out.
Oh,
they're
fashion.
They're one day out of the year. No, it's just the sweaters. I think the sweaters and the jackets and boots. Because I love boots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So you can wear boots when it's like 70 degrees because they're not too hot and stuff.
Yeah. But usually we're in like 60s when it's quote unquote cold here.
So are there people that are in just t-shirts and shorts and flip-flops year round?
Oh, there has to be. Yeah. I think probably. Yeah. I think it's funny though when you go, somewhere touristy, right? in the
Yeah.
winter, you'll always spot the people who are from out of state because they're just like chilling, just in
Yeah.
t-shirts and shorts, and
Mhm.
we're over here with with our jackets and
Mhm.
our boots, and yeah,
Mhm.
we can totally tell who's acclimated to cold and who is not, because
Mhm. Mhm. It's true because they have their opportunity to wear their warm clothes in, when back home or wherever
yeah.
they're from it's cold. Much like people who come, like to cold weather climates, and they're like, I'm going to wear every single cold weather piece of clothing I own.
Hmm. So we just got back from San Diego, not yesterday, actually. We got back Saturday night, because we stayed just overnight one night. But I ran into this thing that I hadn't really thought of before, because we don't really drink much, and we don't drink really anymore. We just don't really like how it feels like
Hmm.
afterwards. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
fine,
for
like,
sure.
to catch a little buzz or whatever, but then like how you feel afterwards, I have kind of a lot of problem with that. I don't want it. So when we were driving down there, we're like, well, we're early for what we wanted to do, because we went to do a bike ride off of this trail called Sunset Cliffs Trail. And it was beautiful. But we were early. And so I found a few kombucha breweries. And kombucha is like such a great way to, like, it still has a little bit of alcohol generally, but you don't feel like garbage the next day.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mhm, mhm.
So I
Was it
was
good?
just excited. Yeah, it was great. We tried a
Mhm.
few different ones. Yeah, we went to a few different places, and yeah, everything we had was great. Coming
That's
out of a
good.
brewery was great.
Did you actually catch a buzz from it?
Yeah, just a little. Like, one of them was 6%, so it's not, if you have a couple of
Oh,
those, that's like a beer. Hmm.
oh, yeah. That is a beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had it one time at this brewery in Hood River,
Hmm.
but I didn't feel anything different. But it was hard, to gauge. It was tasty, delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the thing too, is the flavor. The flavor was good. So I was happy.
The feelings next day, of being hungover, are that's no fun. It's just, and it's
Mm-mm.
not necessarily even feeling hungover for me. It's just you feel a little bit tired, a little bit lethargic. The effects of the alcohol, especially as you get older. I just can't drink as much as I used to. Um,
Right.
I just can't do it. And when I was in my 20s, shit, I was hair of the dog.
Hmm.
Every single night. So,
It's also, though, becomes a social thing, right? You're out with
yep,
friends,
yep.
and if they're having a drink, then it's almost like this pressure that you kind of feel of like, oh, I should have a drink too. But like, I went out with my friend last week. We went out for dinner, and he had a cocktail, and I was like, I don't really feel like that.
No,
So
you
I
don't
got
have
a
to.
mocktail, because
Yeah,
you just want the, like, feeling, right? You want the
yeah.
the idea of it. But it was fine. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm okay with
yeah,
that.
it is a social thing.
Hmm.
I never understood people that would pressure others. Like I've never heard anybody, pressure on it, but I like, what do you care if they don't drink? Who cares? Why do you care?
It's because some people don't like to drink alone, or they feel like if they are drinking alone, then they really are an alcoholic or something, because it's like, I don't give a shit what you're doing, this is all about me.
Right?
So I think there
Well,
comes a little of that.
Well, for me, because I get so buzzed so easily, I'll
Hmm.
just let people know, like, look, I get buzzed. And so it's very quickly, very easily. And I'm going to have this glass of wine and, don't freak out, right? I'm not going to be a
I'm a
sloppy
cheap
drunk,
date.
but no, I start giggling and get all, giggly and stuff, which,
Yeah.
what else is going on with you? Anything?
Oh, a couple weeks ago, I had told you that I went to my friend's. It was called Cool Shabbat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, I only knew my friend Audra, who was the one that put it together, and then everyone else was new, and it was just really cool, because it was a combination of people that are Jewish and have, like, a lot of knowledge about Judaism, and then there's people who, like me, who, like, don't know anything, and it
Mm-mm.
was just a cool, like, everyone was so, like, welcoming, and yeah, we did some of the the traditional Shabbat things, and it was sweet, and I'm excited to do it again, maybe in a few months. But
Is it a recurring thing, or is it just a hope that they do it again?
She's planning on doing it like every couple months.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool. Very cool. So it's basically a circle to come together to learn about a specific culture?
Yes, but also, so one of the things we did was you bring something that has connection to your ancestry, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, everyone kind of went through and shared things that were important to them. And a lot of these things are universal themes. They have nothing to do with one specific religion.
Mm-mm.
Right. Well, one of the stories that was told was this girl. She had her what are those necklaces that guys like cowboys wear? You know
The
what I'm talking
lariat?
about? Yes, a lariat.
Mm-hmm.
It was her grandfather's lariat, and she kind of shared a story about how she, towards the end of his life, she had kind of been frustrated with him because she wanted him to be happy that she was able to express like that her sexuality in its fullness
Mm-hmm.
without any restriction, about without being persecuted for it, and that's something that he didn't have. And she felt like he was more like mad about it, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of being happy that she could have it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's a story that has nothing to do with any religion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was just kind of talking and sharing and insights about things like that, and it was cool. It was just a cool time to hang out, and food was good too. So yeah, did okay on the potluck.
Yeah, I think that those circles are really important now. For some people, they're needed. Other people, I think that it just provides an opportunity to come back into like fellowship and community, and
Yes.
connecting and all that stuff without it feeling like you have to go out and socialize. Because a lot of people are like, I don't want to go out and socialize, and people still wear masks, all over
Yes.
the place and stuff like
Yes.
that. I've been talking to somebody who does sound baths, because we were going to have a sound bath at Psychic Sister, and ultimately it didn't work out. The details didn't work out, but they offer a lot of other sound baths around the city. So I'm going to go to a couple of those, because the whole point of it was, telling her that I need BIPOC community. I need to sit in a
Right.
circle with other BIPOC and say, I struggle with all of the microaggressions and stuff here in Portland.
Yes.
and all that good stuff. So hopefully that will, just to have an opportunity to sit and say, this is what I'm feeling. This is what it feels like. This is what I'm experiencing, and I feel very alone because there's just not a huge diversity of community. Yesterday at the pumpkin patch, it was funny because this isn't something that I normally notice, but you just noticed. But I was like, there was one single Black man in the entire pumpkin patch.
Wow.
One, I mean, in the entire place that I saw, and there were hundreds, if not, maybe a couple thousand people there. It was packed, and one little old Black man, and I was like, hello, brother, hello, kindred.
We noticed that a lot in San Diego too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. My husband used to vacation with his family when he was small. That was their go-to place.
Yeah.
And he said he remembers going down there, and like everyone was Hispanic. His parents would be speaking Spanish to everyone, and that was just kind of the community that was there. And
Mm-hmm.
we're there, and everywhere that we're going, like all the restaurants and stuff that we're eating at, and it's just, and you can cut this out if you want to. There was just nothing but white people.
Yeah.
And not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but it was like, well, what happened to all the Hispanic and Latinos that used to be part of this community? Well, they've all been pushed out because real estate is so expensive now.
Yep. Yeah. I don't think that it has as much to do about where are the other people like me. It more has to do with, like you just said, like, what are the circumstances surrounding that? Why? And it's more just like diversity in Michigan. Michigan wasn't super diverse in the area that I was from, but it was diverse. It was a hell of a lot more diverse than it is here. And it's just, it just makes you, it's not about race as much as it's about, well, you just feel like, I'm maybe a little bit like you're alone, or who would,
Yeah.
if anything happened, right? If a Proud Boy
Yeah.
was like, "What are you doing here?" or whatever, like who would be
Right.
like step in and say, "Hey,"
Right.
I don't. It's this weird combination of feeling like, why am I sticking out like a sore thumb?
Yeah, it is. And it's not, a lot of it has to do more with social classes, and
Mm-hmm.
people are of all colors in social classes. And, but I don't know, the whole like real estate thing, and even like how Airbnbs have ruined a lot of communities in the San Diego area, and San Diego and proper and surrounding, because every time that there is an Airbnb taking up the space of a home that's now just being fucking rented out as a hotel, essentially, that's one less home available to an actual family who
For
can
a
live there.
family, right, who can actually
So
create roots and stuff. So,
yes.
it pushes these families out, in all sorts of different ways. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting, but it's, back, bringing it all back around to, that's why it's important to have those connections and those spaces where you feel like you are connected and you do
Right.
have, people that surround you and support you and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So, it's just really important right now, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Good talk. Good talk. Speaking of, what are we talking about this week?
Well, today I wanted to talk about the myths surrounding witchcraft and witches.
Nice.
I
Nice.
wanted
Good.
to do something a little less heavy than
Yeah.
what we've been talking about. Although, I mean, last week wasn't super heavy. Nobody died.
No.
That was a plus. But I
Mm-hmm.
know Salem is always kind of a hard pill to swallow, and because hindsight's 2020, right? We sit back and
Right.
we're like, how the fuck could we, as humans, do this to other humans?
Mm-hmm.
And thus, it is because if you do not study history and you're not aware of history, then history is doomed to repeat itself. So
Right. 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 Good. That'll be good. So it's sort of a double episode this week.
yes.
So I'm also going to be talking about. I want to lighten things up, and I want to talk about. I'm going to run down my list of the scariest horror film baddies out there. I love this time of year because when you turn on the TV, there's 1,000 different types of horror movies to choose from. And so I just, I get all like, oh, horror movie, so turn it on in the background and have a candle going. It's just a cool season. So we're going to talk about the baddies.
Yes. All
Top
right.
10 horror movie baddies.
All right.
All right. You want to go first?
Yeah. I'll get started. Okay. So first, black cats. So we know a lot are black cats are often associated with witches, right? Just kind of what happens. That has some part to do with the idea that witches have a familiar, which is basically their pet, their animal companion. But the black cat superstition in Western culture actually dates back to ancient Greece. According to Greek mythology, Zeus's wife Hera once transformed her servant Galinthius into a black cat as punishment for impeding the birth of Hercules.
Oh.
Galinthius went on to become an assistant of Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, and black cats have had unique meanings in various cultures ever since.
Okay. All right. So how was he impeding? Did they say how he
I didn't
impeded the birth of
I didn't
birth?
I didn't look it up, but I mean, it's not like he did it permanently, because Hercules was born, like he
Mm-hmm.
was a guy and he was, going around doing shit. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like
Mm-hmm.
he didn't, whatever he did to impede, he didn't do a good job.
I don't know. Thumbs down on that myth.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, origin.
Or origin
All right, but
story. Yeah.
we
Weak
have the
origin
kitties.
story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
also, Zeus's wife. What do we expect?
I mean, right, because didn't we? Zeus was always, he was a whore and he was always fucking shit up, right? Wasn't
Yeah.
that the one that
Yeah.
we're like,
Yep.
Zeus?
Yep. Yep. He
Always
was
whoring around,
with everyone.
trying to get into bed with people that he had no business. Zeus. Fucking
uh,
Zeus.
Okay, so the idea of witches, just in general, the earliest record of a witch is in the Bible, actually, in the book of Samuel. This is according to the History Channel, so I am very open to being wrong. In that story, it tells the story of when King Saul sought the witch of Endor to summon the dead prophet Samuel's spirit to help him defeat the Philistine army.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's allegedly.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the idea of witches and the devil. This one's pretty simple. This was something we talk about all the time. So, witches being involved with the devil comes from the Christian understanding of what magic is. Because historically, Christianity has been seen as a monotheistic religion with one good deity and angels and saints, compared to other religions with multiple deities. So, essentially, because of this, Christians believe that everything else who was outside of that was of
Is
the
evil.
devil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. There we go.
Okay. And then I was trying to keep it light, but then I went into the history of the pointed hats and I was like, okay, let's see what this is. Turns out this is racist history. All right. So some of the beliefs surrounding witches is one, that they're all women and that they're involved with the devil and that they wear pointy hats. Okay. So one theory as to the origin of the black pointy hat is accredited to the Wizard of Oz. Because before that, historically, you have a lot of images of witches in different types of headgear, just, all different types of hats and stuff that they'd wear, but not always specifically a pointy hat. And that was the first time that that was shown, like in a movie or like in a a grand production like that. So that's what a lot of people attribute it to that. However, during the Middle Ages, pointed hats were actually associated with the Jewish religion and, unfortunately, Satan. Participation in Kabbalah rituals had people believing that Jews held magical powers from making a deal with the devil. And in the 1200s, Jews in Hungary were required to wear this specific hat style to signify their religion. It was called the Juden hat, or the Jewish hat. And unsurprisingly, of course, it became a target of anti-Semitism. And then after that, after the European witch hunts, at that point, everybody who was accused of quote unquote preaching magic or practicing magic were forced to wear those hats as punishment.
Okay. Can we just take a minute to talk about something that I just don't fucking understand?
Yeah.
So there has been a resurgence lately of anti-Semitism and hating Jews or Jewish people. Here's the fucking thing. I don't totally get it, because Jewish people are not a race. It's a religion. And, when you've got extremists and supremacists and all of these hillbilly hoo-has, waving their Confederate flag, and they're like, Jews will not replace us. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's religious persecution, which is tied into racism. But I just don't get it. Why do you give a shit what other people practice? Like, why is it such a big deal? Why is being Jewish such a bad thing to these fucking wackos? I don't get it. Explain this to me.
So Jewish is an ethnicity. Like it's both. Like you can be both Jewish and you can also be of Jewish religion. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. So like I when I pulled my ancestry, I have 2.5% Jewish, and I guess a lot of us do.
So is it like people that are like born in like Jerusalem? I don't understand how it's a race.
In certain areas,
so it's Middle Eastern.
It's an ethnic culture. So it's an ethnicity. Yeah. So it's a culture, right? But it's also very much attributed to like certain parts of the world where people would have come from. But the anti-Semitism that's popped up, it's kind of been a long time coming. We talked about this when we talked about conspiracy theories. Remember the talk about conspiracy theories, that all of them link back to this quote unquote cabal of like evil men who are in charge, and they're these rich assholes who are like controlling everything. And that idea And then even that whole like what do they call it when the supposedly that they drink children's blood or some shit.
Oh, those
Oh,
QAnon wacko
yes, exactly. Though
crazies.
that is all anti-Semitic shit that's been around for hundreds of years.
I don't understand what is it about the religion that they have a problem with? Because they don't believe in Christ?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the specific reason. I think it comes down to scapegoat. It's people that need to blame their problems on a group or a person or whatever, but they need to find a scapegoat for whatever is going wrong. They can't just accept that diseases spread, that this is common, that something happens, that natural disasters happen all the time, that people are evil and they kill each other for absolutely no reason, or just not everything has to have this like hierarchical explanation of like, oh, it's the Rothschilds, doing all this shit. Like that's
Which
so
it is the Rothschilds and the aliens. Those are
it's
the
so
two.
fucking easy. Like it's so fucking easy to just be like, it's it's this is what's causing it. It's lazy. It's fucking lazy.
All right, so I'm just going to file that in. I don't fucking get it. I don't understand. Why do you care? Leave people alone
Leave
to be
people
able to
alone.
worship and live the way that they want and worry about you. And maybe if you're all pissed off because your living circumstances or life circumstances suck, maybe fucking focus on getting yourself out of that. Look, we could take this even further and get into, well, I know some opportunities don't exist for some people, some ethnicities, cultures, and races. Okay, fine. Put that over there. But the majority of person is able to create a better life for themselves when they work on their own fucking shit.
Yeah,
And I
we're
just don't
looking
get
at
it.
you QAnon assholes who are waving fucking
We're
flags
looking
on the
at
side
you.
of the freeway, who sit on the corner of an intersection talking about, how whatever someone's killing babies or some shit. It's like I'm
Pizzagate.
speaking to you specifically. You go get a job and you go
Go-
find yourself a hobby. You go do something else, anything else. Don't bother people.
That's the best slogan. Stop bothering people. You. All right. There's all right, that's the end of the segue that I'm just like, and I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, why do they fucking care? I
know.
don't understand why they care. I
It's
really
just
don't.
it's just a historical scapegoat, and it just never gets old. It's just easy to blame this obscure group of people that you've never met, you've never seen, or whatever.
And haven't these people been persecuted enough? I mean, hello,
Oh,
fucking
literally.
Nazi Germany. The
Literally.
constant. I mean, why are we not learning? Why are we not learning that was wrong to persecute a specific ethnicity and religion based on their beliefs? Burn thousands and thousands of them in concentration camps and all of those things. Why have we not learned? Why are there still freaking idiots that are like, Jews suck. We will not be replaced. I don't get it. Anyway, all right, we can be there forever and I'll get all mad and everything. But
well, I'm not really done because it's part of the next part, unfortunately.
Well, no, that's good. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, too much of the myths around witches are somehow connected to Jewish people as well. So the Sabbath.
The Sabbath.
So
Okay.
because Shabbat was also wrapped up in early modern narratives of witchcraft, specifically the notion of the witches' Sabbath. So this referred to the nighttime gatherings of witches during which sorcery and satanic rituals supposedly took place. In early modern times, non-Christian gatherings or meetings of any kind were automatically seen as anti-Christian and therefore threatening, satanic, heretical, and usually allegedly involving sexual orgies, which
if
which
they're
again,
lucky.
are they hurting anyone?
I mean, and if they are, it's probably consensual.
They liked
so,
it. The weekly Jewish Sabbath is of course, a ritualistic practice existing outside the Christian norm. So again, we go into like whatever's outside of this, and so therefore is automatically associated with heresy and devil worship in medieval Europe, and that was the whole Spanish Inquisition and all that followed.
Which went on for a long time. I was actually surprised to find out how long that the Spanish Inquisition went on.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
before there was the Holocaust, there was the Spanish Inquisition.
Mhm.
So if there's people that fucking deny that
Yeah,
that it happened, and
I know.
I
I know. You know what? Keep denying it because you'll be paying billions like Alex Jones. I don't get the I mean, the deniers are just, honestly, I'm not going to go on a rant about the deniers. I mean, they're just dumb. They're dumb people.
they're right over
Dumb
there with flat
people.
earthers. I mean, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the shit's in, look it up. You're just dumb if you're like, oh, that didn't happen. Okay.
Fucking Auschwitz is still there, sadly. Like, it's still there. You could go there. You can
Yeah.
go there and feel the horrible fucking impending doom energy that fills you as soon as you step foot in that area.
I know. People have you ever been there?
No.
No, I
don't
haven't
know
either.
if I could handle it.
I know, right? Like I was surprised at how heavy the Anne Frank house was. I was really surprised at that. That was it was awesome, but being in the room, I was like, oh, you felt it. So yeah, I don't think I could go to Auschwitz. I think that I would like to, and I would like to believe that I could, but as an empath, I think that I would probably cry because I cried
Yeah.
at Anne Frank's house. So.
Oh yeah. I don't think I could. I don't know. I would.
Okay.
I would, but I don't think it should be like a tourist place. I don't know. I've like so many like there's so many things around that I'm like
Yeah, it's true. The good thing about the Anne Frank house is that it was more like a museum, and you had to be very respectful and hushed tones and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I don't. It sometimes does seem like, oh, is it touristy? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll ease up. We'll ease up on the anti-Semitism history now. Okay. So
Oh.
pointed shoes, which
Okay.
I personally I like a pointed shoe.
Me too. Thank you. I do too.
Nice classy shoe. Okay.
Mhm.
So we often associate this shoe type with those who play tricks such as court gestures and elves, right? Like those are also pointed shoes. But from the 14th to 16th centuries, pointy shoes were actually quite the popular fashion trend. And then eventually they would become controversial thanks to no other than the church.
God damn it. We're trying to lighten it up, you guys, but geez, we just can't keep coming back to the church and religion. All right.
So the church began to associate pointy shoes with sex and sin, likely because of their phallic shape. And it's like, you know what? You get your mind out of the gutter. They're just cute shoes.
Thank you. All these associations are made by these people that are clearly demented themselves.
Right. It's like, yeah, it's like you spent too much time thinking about this. They also thought that they prevented people from being able to kneel while praying.
Well, listen, they definitely prevent you from being able to walk up a fucking flight of stairs
properly. So they even became known as Satan's claws. Yeah. But at the same time, witches had a reputation for loving shoes, which it's like, well, that's like females, like women, like, I don't know. What's wrong with shoes? I love shoes.
I mean, shoes. Women love shoes. Who doesn't love shoes?
People love shoes. All people love shoes.
Men,
my God. When I met Mike, he owned more shoes than I did.
Oh my God, the other day, when I went to that football game in Seattle, right? So we stopped at the person who drove's house.
Yes.
He's a male, stopped at his house, and then he drove from there. Fioraliz, this man had a spare bedroom that was filled with nothing but boxes of his shoes that he had then, no shelves, just on the floor. I bet you he had 200 pairs of shoes in there. Oh, yeah. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
love shoes.
Some he hadn't even ever worn.
Of course.
Like, all right, well, yeah. I think tennis shoes, of course, they were.
So people also, though, hid shoes in their houses, like as they were building them, or if they had like a hole, and that was used as a way to protect themselves against evil.
Yeah. There's a Facebook group I belong to called Things I Found in the Walls, and
Oh,
people are always during renovations of like old houses, they're always finding old shoes and stuff, and people are like, yeah, that's
yes.
an old timey way of
Protecting a house.
protecting the house. Yeah, so it's
Huh.
cool.
Very cool. All right. Cloak and capes. Historically, cloaks and capes offered a layer of protection and were especially popular during medieval times. So that's probably how they became associated with witches.
Yeah,
But capes also became an essential part of magical costumes for like Dracula and all that.
yeah,
Um, and then Bela Lugosi, who played, Dracula and
yeah.
all
The
that,
original Dracula.
yeah, he wore a cape in both the play and the movie. So it pretty much just became associated because of the whole like sorcery and vampires and fantasy. There's no like specific thing to it. Um, the actual idea for this came from when I went to that weekend, the Shabbos get together, and I met a girl who she's actually does doula work, and she was telling me that the whole idea of like witches eating children, that actually comes because witches were historically, or yeah, traditionally, they were also many times acting as doulas, because they were the ones attending to women in whatever ways they could, where it was herbal medicines or tinctures and things like that that they could make for them, but also assisting with births. And a lot of times, especially during these times, we didn't have the advancements that we maybe have now, or the knowledge that we have now, and women would die in childbirth very
Hmm.
often, right? Or babies would be born stillborn, and because of that, then they would then care for that stillborn child. And so that's where the association came from, that witches quote unquote eat children, is because they were also death doulas a lot of times for these babies.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, they were doing something good and
Yeah,
bringing life into the world, and people just take stuff and twist it, and
exactly,
again,
absolutely.
it all goes back. But that's a cool origin story, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
cool as far as interesting.
Right. It was, yeah, it was definitely interesting. I was like, I'd never heard of that. And I guess I'd never thought about it, but that totally
Mm-mm.
makes sense.
Hmm.
All right. So this is my last one. And I saved the best for last.
Okay.
So this is the broomstick.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay. Cool.
why are broomsticks a witch's accessory of choice? So here's the real tea. And it's not meant for like literally flying. Okay. So the story starts with bread, as many good stories do.
Mm. That's true.
Fucking love bread.
Hmm.
All right. In Europe, in the Europe of the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance, bread was made of, in large part, with rye. And then that rye and other rye-like plants can host fungus or ergo. So this is kind of talking a little bit, touching back
Right.
on the Salem story, right?
That rye bread, the pea cakes or the urine cakes or witch cakes.
Yeah, but also because one of the theories was that these little girls might have been poisoned by like the bad rye in their bread.
Right.
Okay, so ergo, or so is it ergo or ergot?
Ergot. Your ERGOT.
Yeah, it's spelled ergot,
Yeah,
but I
that'd be
don't.
ergo. But what is it? What is it?
Okay, so ergo is it's a fungus, and
Oh,
when it's
okay.
consumed in high doses, it can be lethal.
Oh,
But in smaller doses, it can be a powerful hallucinogenic.
oh, all
Yeah,
right. Like microdosing ergot.
right.
Ergot.
So records from the 14th to the 17th century mention Europe's affliction with quote unquote dancing mania,
Hmm.
which found groups of people dancing through the streets, often speaking nonsense and foaming at the mouth as they did so, until they collapsed from exhaustion. So a lot of these people associated dancing mania with this ergot poisoning, or
Mhm.
maybe a lesser dose of it.
Mhm.
And yes, in the 20th century, Albert Hoffman, the same guy that went and sat with Maria Sabina,
Mhm.
he realized the psychedelic effects of LSD while studying ergot. So
Yeah. So a lot of these, fits, from the 16th, 14th, 15th, 16th hundreds can possibly be tied back to undiscovered hallucinogenic,
right.
plants,
Yep.
that sort of thing. And what a trip for these people, like you don't even know the gold you have.
Exactly. So eventually, though, they would figure out how to tame the ergot, and they experimented with other plants too, such as deadly nightshade, mandrake, and jimson weed, which is the datura stramonium. It's the bellflowers.
Mm.
You know what
Oh,
I'm talking about? It's
yeah,
it's
the
also
little
called.
bellflowers.
I think it's called hell's bells. I think. Is that right?
Okay, yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Don't do that. It's
They're poison or they're
Oh,
hallucinogenic?
they're poison, and
Poison, yeah.
they're also, yeah. Yeah, hell's bells is the other word for it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't fuck with that plant.
No.
That mess you up.
Mm-mm.
Okay, anyway, so they're experimenting with all that. They learned how to tame the ergot, and then what happened was they learned to make an ointment out of it. So in the 16th century, a Spanish court physician claimed to have taken a pot full of a certain green ointment composed of herbs such as hemlock, nightshade, henbane, and mandrake from the home of a couple accused of witchcraft. So they were learning to make these balms, or quote unquote witches brews, and but in order for them to distribute the salves with maximum effectiveness, they had to use a certain method, because you couldn't just ingest it, you couldn't just place it on the skin. So they obviously, had to use different ways. So that's where the broomstick comes in. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So
I
essentially
forgot we
what
were even talking about broomsticks.
I know. Yeah. So essentially what they would do is they would lube up the broomstick, and then they would use it like you would use a sex toy. And
Uh, oh,
yeah.
oh, oh. Okay. My first thought is, but splinters.
Well,
The-
if you got enough oil on the thing, I don't know. I don't know. I see what you mean, but yeah.
Okay, so this balm was inserted vaginally
Uh-huh.
and or anally?
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
Really? On a broomstick?
On a broomstick.
Okay,
And
so
that's
why?
what the
What does that have to do with witches? Because
well,
that's how they administered.
yes. Yeah. So that's where it comes from. So because this one physician said that he found this ointment and what it was made out of, and it happened to be from the home of a couple who was accused of witchcraft. So then there came the association of like, oh, witches make this ointment. And then you essentially had to have some kind of tool that you can kind of hide in a way in your house. And what
Yeah.
better way to hide something than in plain sight?
Then yeah. Okay. Okay, I think that's stretching it. I mean, awesome story, super interesting, woven beautifully, but the guy who accused the people of witchcraft because of fucking broom is a dumbass. Because I mean, please, why wouldn't you just use a small stick or a
Okay.
stick? Why
But
a broomstick?
there are witch trial transcripts that refer to witches rubbing hallucinogenic ointments on their genitals to facilitate altered states and magical flight.
Really? Which is kind of
Yeah.
cool. I don't
Yeah.
know that I'd do that. I don't know. I don't know that I'd do that. I'd be like, let's just take this orally.
Right.
Let's just not worry about those things down there.
So I mean, it was essentially sex magic. So for anyone that doesn't know, that's just a ritual that blends orgasms with visualization and manifestation. So this is just confirming that witches have practiced this tradition for hundreds of years. This is not anything new.
No. You know what I don't get about that? Anytime there are any balms or salves or anything like that, is that poultices have been used for centuries.
Oh yes.
From doctors, and so why is it okay for a doctor to put together all these herbs and oils and create a poultice and put it on a wound, but it's not okay for a woman in the woods to do it, right? Like, it's kind of more hypocritical, patriarchal bullshit that we
there's
got.
a lot of mistrust and patriarchal shit that goes on in there. Yeah. Another part of the connection may have to do with broom's place in pagan rituals. So, like in paganism, the broom is seen to balance both masculine energies, like the phallic handle, and then the female energies, the bristles. It kind of looks like, kind of like a skirt.
Mhm.
So, which explain why it's often used symbolically in marriage ceremonies. But it's more likely that the connection has to do with the whole witch's brew. And that's what they were actually using, because they were using their broomsticks to get high, So
I mean,
that's
yeah.
what they meant by fly, not literal flying.
These origins are they're super interesting, but they're so crazy because you're like, what? Wait, what? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they make sense, and other times, it's like, oh, okay, all right, well, I can see that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's a origins are cool. There's a I really like talking about the origins of stuff. Okay, so next let's talk about top 10 horror movie baddies.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to go through this in no particular order. However, the last two are my top, my pick for number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
All right. So first one I want to talk about is the Trilogy of Terror. All right. So there's a doll in there, and it's an 8-inch Aboriginal warrior, and this little doll has like razor sharp teeth and a spear. Google it so you can see what I'm talking about. But it was like an ABC made for TV sort of trilogy way back in like the 70s, and I saw this when I was a little girl, and I remember it being called The Doll That Came Alive, but it's really the Trilogy of Terror. And that little fucker, the doll came with a scroll claiming that the doll contained the actual spirit of a Zuni hunter named He Who Kills. Right there, the goddamn doll's not coming in my house. Okay. But then this doll comes to life and attacks its owner. And so so that's on the list of no. For that matter, any doll that comes alive. There's 2 things. First off, this doll is 8 inches. Stomp it, kick it, throw it in the. How do people get killed by dolls? Even Chucky, he's a fucking doll. Beat his ass.
Yeah.
So yeah, any doll that comes to life. But there's a new trailer out for a movie. I forget what it's called, but it's this mom who creates an AI doll for her daughter as a friend, and then the doll turns very protective. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll definitely be checking it out. All right, so the Trilogy of Terror doll. The next one I want to talk about is Jeepers Creepers. Have you seen this movie?
I have. I was like a teenager the last time I saw it, though. I had a friend who was like really, really into it.
Yeah, so there's like several in the series, but it's this ancient, like mysterious, like demon who seeks organs from humans, and then he eats them, or he uses them to replace damaged ones of his own. He has a super creepy face. Now, all of these baddies that I'm talking about, it has nothing to do with the storyline. It has nothing to do with, how popular the movie was or whatever. It has everything to do that when you look at them, they scared the shit out of me. And I am not a person who is easy to, like, I love horror movies. I love all of that. I watch the paranormal shows, and as a medium, I'm like, scoffing at them, like, you don't know. But these are the baddies where I'm like, no, and I don't like them. And if they showed up in my real life, I would freak out and scream. So the Jeepers Creepers dude, he's an awful face, awful. It's black with sharp teeth and these yellow eyes. He's awful. So I don't like him. The next one would be any fucker hanging from the ceiling.
Oh, like The Exorcist and shit. When she crawls up the ceiling, yeah.
Yes, or they crawl on all fours, or no. If they're hanging anytime any of that is happening in any movie, I'm always like, no.
Oh, The Ring, when she crawls out of the well and she's like, no.
Right, what? And people just stand there like, and they look at it, and I'm like, Why are you not running? What? I don't understand. I don't understand these people that stare incredulously at this awful, thing coming at them. It's like I would have been gone 20 seconds ago.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, the next one, the poltergeist clown. Okay, remember that clown when he like wrapped his arms around, I think his name was Andy or whatever, the little boy, and his face went from being a clown to like this demonic clown.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in its entirety, and I think the last time I tried to watch it, I maybe was a teenager. I don't
You're the wrong
really,
person to talk about scary movies with because
yeah,
you don't watch them.
because I don't like them because they stick to my brain. I don't like them at all.
All right. So I might not be getting the reactions that I want from you. So
I'm
we'll
sorry.
just we'll just hope that people in the audience that are listening are like, oh my God, yes, I know. I hate that too. The poltergeist clown. So when he was just a regular old clown sitting in the chair, he was still a creepy clown, right? So I don't like clowns and I don't hate them. Some people are really terrified of them. I just would never have a clown in my house or a
fucking
clown
John
doll.
Wayne Gacy fucked it up for everyone.
Like they're stupid too. Well, I won't say they're stupid, but no, clowns. They're not funny.
No.
But then this doll, he gets possessed by one of the spirits of this house and turns into a demonic doll.
Okay.
This clown. And then, he's got to go. So anyway, so that was super scary. Let's see. Okay, so here, the Poltergeist 2. So there was this reverend in there, and his name was Henry Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically was just the spirit who was keeping a bunch of spirits captive in this house. Okay. Here's the thing why he was so creepy. It was his face, his old creepy ass face. He looked like a resurrected corpse with like 2,000 teeth, right? And it's even said that Heather O'Rourke, the little girl that played, that she was so frightened by his appearance that when they first met, that she cried. And yeah, I don't know if it was true, but I was like, same girl, same.
I've heard a lot of things about that movie though. That the director said the room, right, the bedroom that she's in, they kept that. The director kept that specifically cold, extra cold, so you can see, because that whole movie's kind of claustrophobic, like you're really up close to everyone and you can see like their breath. He did that shit on purpose without telling them, and they're over here freezing their ass off, and they'd have to like work through. So yeah, there's kind of a lot of things that are fucked up about that movie.
That movie is one of the movies that they talk about that was just cursed from the beginning, like all the people that died working on it. That movie and The Exorcist was also one that had a lot of crazy things going on around it. So Reverend Henry Kane in Poltergeist 2 was a creepy looking fucker.
Oh, that was Poltergeist. I was talking about The Exorcist. Sorry.
No. Oh no, that's true. Yeah, that too. I mean, I don't know about your story, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't the Exorcist isn't in my list on here. I mean,
because I don't. Do you feel like there's one? I don't remember. Do you think that there's one person in the Poltergeist or in the Exorcist that kind of like takes it away? Because I feel like it's not. Like I feel like it's such a like ensemble piece of work that I don't think there's you could say, oh, it just obviously like the little girl, yes, but.
Yeah, well, for me, it was just I guess it was scary and all that stuff, but it was really like the scariest part of it was the makeup on the little girl, and when, the name of the demon, but that was scary and everything, but it wasn't like some of these scenes where I'm like, what? No.
I think what makes a movie like that scary to some people is the religious undertones to it.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Rite with Anthony Hopkins?
Yes, I just saw that the other day. It was on TV.
Yeah. That was one of those. That one's scary as shit.
Yep.
That one, it's like it digs into each and every like superstition that Catholicism has about the devil and whatever, and then it's there. And yeah, it was fucked up.
And in the end, he comes out. He's all like, "Hey, man, go forth and do good stuff." It's like well, glad you lived, dude. But okay, the next one I want to talk about is not an actual character. It's the Amityville Horror windows. The windows in the Amityville Horror house.
Oh.
Those windows looked like eyes to hell, and they were featured on the front of the book and all the movies and stuff. And so when new owners actually bought that house, they actually took those windows out and replaced them with just standard windows.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's no way that I would have those type of windows in my house. I mean, they were kind of cool, right? Sort of placed on either side of the chimney, before the Amityville Horror. Very cool, but no, it's like if I was looking at a house that I was going to buy and it had those windows in it, I'd be like, no, next one.
All the windows, or they look, or the top? I'm looking at a picture right now. Is it?
It's just those top,
or the top ones? Oh
just
yeah,
those
they
top,
look.
yeah,
they do look like eyes.
like eyes to hell, eyes to hell. So, yeah. All right. The next one for you to look up, I love that you're looking these up because it gives you context.
Yes.
Next one, I want you to look up Mama, Mama. And that is a story about a guy who takes his two little girls to this wooded cabin and he's going to kill all of them. He's a stockbroker and he fucking is a whatever. I don't know what he did.
Okay. Yeah.
But the spirit shows up who kills him so that he doesn't hurt the girls. And then she proceeds to mother them in that cabin for the next 5 years. So people just think that they disappeared. So then 5 years later, they're found. And then they're sent to live with their uncle and his girlfriend, right? But Mama's pissed. She's like, I've been watching these kids for 5 years. She's jealous as fuck and she wants those kids back. Oh. So, and then horror ensues. All right, now listen, this was actually a good movie. But Mama was just like this scary looking twisted bitch that you don't want that in your house. She was like, I was like, what the fuck? Because scary movies, they'll like hint of a presence and they'll show you like, glimpses here and there, but they don't show the character full on.
Yeah, and it's usually good when it builds that kind of mystery about it, because then it allows your imagination to fill in the blanks, and your imagination, nothing tops your imagination. And that's why like reading a book and then watching the movie is kind of always a disappointment. But that's smart. Yeah.
And then when you see her full on, you're like, no, she has to definitely go. She is not a pretty woman. In the end, it tugs at your heartstring a little because they show her as a human before she was, and the story is that she lost her children and she wants one. It's all a big thing. But regardless, she's a spirit. She's got to get the fuck out. Go. There's no live with the spirit. No.
That sounds like a really good movie, and I see it has Jessica Chastain in it. I like
it. It is a really good movie. It was good. It was
I will probably put on my watch list.
Yes.
I'll tell you the movies I generally don't like horror movies that are like so far out, like beyond reality, where you're just like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, have you seen Possession, the one where the little girl buys a box at the yard sale?
You know what? So yes, but I haven't watched it. I mean, I've had it on in the background, but I didn't pay any attention to it.
It's stupid. I mean, we watched it and it was one of those where you're screaming at the movie the whole time and you're just like, don't buy her the creepy box. Why are you letting her take that creepy box? Like, hello. So now every time we go to like the antique store or we're somewhere and we see a creepy box, I'm like, hey, babe.
Don't bring that creepy ass box home. The other thing about horror movies that makes me like scream at the TV is like if like in the paranormal movies, right, where they're actually videotaping.
Yes.
So you have proven videotape footage of ghosts or spirits or awful things happening to your child, and yet you still put them to bed, close the door, and then walk down the hall or downstairs to your own bedroom and go to bed. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
That kid would be sleeping strapped to me and with me. And I'm not a mothering person. But I'm like,
common sense. Come on.
Why would you leave your kid, your vulnerable child, upstairs away from you when there's clearly paranormal activity going on?
Yeah,
I don't understand why people do that.
Yeah.
Or when people they're like, I hear a noise. I'm the only one here. And the basement door opens by itself. I think I'm going to go down there and check it out.
No.
That's the last fucking thing I'm
No.
gonna do. I'm gonna nail that door shut.
Exactly. And then this house is going for sale tomorrow.
People are stupid in horror movies. All right, so the next movie I want to talk about is the Thing, but there's an original. There's the original back in like the 80s, and then there's the one that was just released, a couple years ago. The original starred Kurt Russell, and that thing was badass. It was one of my favorites. It's not that the movie is scary. It's actually a really good thriller. It's like a sci-fi sort of thing. But that thing, when that thing, it basically it clones people. And then you don't know that it's just like this alien. But when that thing is halfway through the cloning process and it clones whatever, it clones humans, animals, dogs, whatever it's attempting to replicate, if you catch it, like it would get caught or disturbed midway through. It was fucking terrifying. There were heads with teeth and spider legs coming out of mouths that opened up with 6 other mouths in them.
Ew.
I mean, it was just this massive half human, half insect, half dog. It was
Gross.
crazy. And so the only way to kill it, well, the preferred way to kill it was with fire. So people were always, they'd set this thing on fire and then it would burn and squeal and, but then they would leave it, instead of finishing it off. And then it would regenerate and then continue its rampage. So
yeah,
it was dumb. It made me mad, but that was a terrifying, the graphics, whoever, like the characters, whoever like designed the characters or animations or whatever. I was like, that's a really good one. All right, we got 2 more, and these are my last 2. Okay. So my number 2 is that creepy red-faced fucker in Insidious. And he is a demon called the Lipstick Demon, and he lives in the place called the Further. The Insidious is, in my opinion, one of the best horror series. There's like 3 or 4 films in it, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. But Insidious was badass. I loved the story. I loved, the actor. It was just good and scary and spooky and creepy. But there's it's called the Lipstick Demon, and he pops up all of the sudden, and he is terrifying. I was like, I mean, that is the shit that I'll have like nightmares about, or I'll remember when I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm like, stop thinking about that. Fucker. Yeah. So that's one where I was like, I actually, like, my heart jumped.
Yes.
It was beating. I actually screamed, and like it was, that was scary.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. But that one doesn't look bad. That one actually looks
pretty good. That's a good one. Yeah.
I like Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne.
He's so awesome. So Patrick Wilson also ties into the next franchise, which is The Conjuring, which then bred The Nun. And so The Conjuring, that nun in The Conjuring is literally the most terrifying bitch in all of horror. No, she is truly fucking terrifying, strictly because of her goddamn face.
Yeah, I can see that. That was one of those good ones where they pulled it off, like where the creepy evil thing is actually like creepy, evil, scary looking.
Oh, she's awful. She's absolutely awful. And if she showed up at the end of my bed one night, I would be like, what do you do? Like, I don't even know what I would do. It would be end of me. So those are my top 10 favorite horror baddies based on, visually scary, appealing, that sort of thing. So, if it gives people a list of maybe movies to check out for the next, couple days before the end of Spooktober, and then it's all gone. Yeah. It's always sad at the end of October because I'm like, but all of the scary movies are gone, because then they start showing fucking Christmas movies.
Oh God, yeah, no. Send us your favorite horror movies. My favorite are anything that has like based on a true story, like that I'm hooked. Like, yes. I like the historical aspect to it. Because it makes it
Yeah.
scarier. Because it's like, you know that it was exaggerated to an extent or whatever, but also like some part of the story is true. So I'm
Yep.
there for that.
Well, that's why Amityville Horror was so terrifying, back in, the late
Yeah.
80s, because it was absolutely 100% based on a true
Yep.
story.
Yep. And so
Ronald
is
DeFeo.
the Conjuring too. The
Yep.
Conjuring.
The Conjuring, the Warrens,
Mm-hmm.
Ed and Lorraine Warren, who, and then of course all of the movies that they have spawned as,
Yeah.
from Insidious and The Conjuring and all that stuff. And the thing is too, is that the Warrens have proof. Like, okay, so when it comes to
Yeah.
that stuff, I'm like, well, people make that shit up
Skeptical.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that Ed and Lorraine Warren, like, that was their life path to experience what they do in this lifetime, and so to them, those experiences and things were truly real, and the people that they were experiencing them with.
Yeah.
Thank God I don't, knocking wood, I don't have to deal with any of that, but as a medium, but
Well, our friend Sam does that. Sam's
oh
psychic.
yeah,
That's what she does. She does paranormal investigations.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and they're very, very, very cool.
It's very cool. It's just for a specific, a specific type of person that wants to do that work and that enjoys doing that work. And it's not for everyone. And yeah. I don't know if I would do it. I don't consider myself to be like super sensitive, but I feel like in that way of like, oh, like, something's trying to talk to me. That hasn't happened to me. But I feel like if you did spend enough time doing it, it would eventually happen. And I don't know if I would, because the whole boundaries thing, right? Like, let me sleep. Don't disturb me in my sleep.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, and then with paranormal investigations too, they're actually going into haunted locations and they're doing provoking, which is ridiculous. Like, why do you provoke? Whatever. That's their problem. It's on them. I don't care about investigations. I don't care. Like, well, you can investigate. I'm not going to investigate, but
Yeah.
but I do like spooky houses or spooky locations.
Yeah.
To sort of just feel the electricity and stuff, as
Me
as
too.
long as they're not known places where evil things happen and it's just like hauntings, residual hauntings and stuff like that, then I like to go there. There's so Portland has the tunnels underneath Portland. We've talked about those, the Shanghai tunnels, but there are like ghost tours. It has a lot of ghost tours here. And so I still have yet to do one, but
I want
in
to do
those
one
instances, I think it would be fun. I know, right?
Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be able to check one of those out. Now is a good time to do it. I probably should check into it. I got a busy week ahead of me, but it would be fun to do it like next week. All right. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully, guys, we lightened things up a little bit, but for the most part, that was our month of, talking about witches and witch hunts and being persecuted and all that good stuff. So
yes.
Okay. Well, you can find us on all the socials under Esoterics Podcast and catch us on Facebook. You can find us by typing in the Esoterics community in Facebook groups, and there's all sorts of cool things that we do in there. It's a safe place to ask questions on all things spiritual, or just post a recipe or whatever. We don't care. It's a fun community. We can do anything. We talk about anything.
Yes. You will also find support and daily information for developing your own spiritual intuitive abilities as well as your daily practices. Thank you for inviting us into your life. Stay mystical, magical, and don't let anyone tell you what to do.
Never. Bye.